Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Season 2 Invitational in Columbus. I'm Nick Miller alongside Joe Lossett. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing okay.
All right.
I'm doing good. I'm in a good mood.
Now, self-proclaimed legacy specialists, yet have multiple standard open wins. Now we're playing modern.
We are, and I don't play very much modern, as you know.
Yes.
So we're trying something out today.
Now, when we think of modern, I've seen your stream. You like to play around with the Elementals deck back from the days of old. I said, please play that deck. You said, no, we have something special.
Well, it is the Year of Cavern,
right,
and the Elemental deck does have Cavern of Souls, but I feel like Gemstone Caverns is still not getting enough love. So we tried that at the Players' Championship. Now we're going to try it again.
Right, so you break out Gemstone Caverns at the Players' Championship with a reanimation shell. Similarly, here in Modern, you're playing a Through the Breach, Goryo's Vengeance type reanimation style.
Yeah.
Why are you playing this deck?
Well, for one, it's really neat.
Yes.
I don't know a ton about Modern. I haven't played a lot of it, and I could have started playing more of it, but it made sense to me to try and to work on a deck that I could do a lot of work on goldfishing. And this is definitely a deck that you can just goldfish and learn things from. And plus, it's really cool. And
All right, so we've seen similar iterations of this deck in the past.
Yeah.
You're using Through the Breach and Goryo's Vengeance to get your Gristlebrand and Emrakul into play very easily. And then you have the combo kill with Fury of the Horde, and all this is facilitated by your fast mana with Simian Spirit Guide and Pitad Prism, and your dig spells in Faithless Looting and Izzet.
Right, it's really it's a redundant deck, which it has to be, because you have to have both. There's no, we don't have Brainstorm, we don't have big draw spells. So we have the 8 essentially kill cards with a 9th that tutors for them. And then we have the 8 creatures with 2 semi-tutors for them. And all we have to string it together is essentially looting effects. So, yeah, it has to, I tried it for a while, goldfishing with 7 creatures.
Right.
And too often you have everything set up, and but if you don't have a creature, you can't do anything.
Exactly.
So you just sit there. It's you have to have 8. Maybe we'll have options for more. Same for the kill cards.
Right. So the 9th option is this little card here called Eerie Procession. We had to read this one.
Yeah, I dug that one up. I was looking at Peer Through Depths and Anticipate. Anticipate's nice because you can find the creature also.
Right.
But it's also just a much, it's a weaker card. The Eerie Procession just gets
find you either Through the Breach or Goryo's Vengeance.
Right. And the, Procession costs 3, but you can still, Through the Breach costs 5, so it's not necessarily off-curved. It's not terrible to have to actually cast that. And a lot of times we can cast it on, turn 2, so, and then build up. And then, or you can go this into the next turn, Looting plus Vengeance, which is the mana works out.
Now, when you're at the Players' Championship, you kind of gave us this breakdown of Gemstone Caverns and how it was not necessarily card disadvantage like people seem to think it is.
Right.
What's its role in Modern? Does it work similarly, and how does it fit in the deck?
So the idea of Cavern works the same way as now in at the Players' Championship, the Reanimator deck. I was actually going first whenever I had the option.
Right.
Here, I'm choosing to go second every single time.
Okay, so you're on the draw every game.
Yeah, game 1, I run the roll, chose to go second. My opponent's okay. Because for one thing, the Cavern, I'm not playing a bunch of, I'm not playing a fetch dual mana base. 1, because I don't want the pain. 2, because there's not that many land in the deck. And with Serum Powders, there's too much fear of, if I exile 7, I might be exiling a land and then my fetches are dead.
Right.
But really, that's really the reason is because with Gemstone Cavern and Serum Powder, we have 7 cards that exile things to start the game, right? So this Pull from Eternity, we can kind of build into an Entomb, because that's the one thing, Entomb is probably the most important card in Legacy Reanimator.
Exactly.
We don't have an equivalent here. But Pull from Eternity, as long as we have an opening 7 that has a Serum Powder and a creature, then Pull from Eternity becomes Entomb.
Right.
Or if we have Gemstone Cavern and a creature, we can just exile a creature, and then it's sitting there waiting for us to pull it into the graveyard, and we actually, you can actually win on turn 1. That's not likely to happen.
How does that work?
So turn 1 win is Gemstone Cavern. There's a couple ways to get different work, but Gemstone Cavern exiling a creature.
Right.
Okay, still on their turn, pull it into the grave. If it's a Gristlebrand, pull it into the graveyard, untap, play a land, Vengeance. Okay. It can also, you can even do it without Pull from Eternity, just because the Cavern, it gets harder than, but like you can just have Cavern, untap, play your land. Then if you have a Spirit Guide, eluding Vengeance and a creature, then you can. But really, it's just they get to go first. But again, this deck, there's no tutors for everything, so you just want the 8th card.
You want more cards.
And we have so many junk cards that we don't want.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like Serum Powder, for example. If we want to keep our hand, Serum Powder is not so good. I mean, it can help accelerate it through the breach, sort of. But really, if we're keeping it, if this other 6 cards are good, Serum Powder is worthless. So we can throw it away to Cavern, we can throw it away to looting. Fury of the Hordes also, like, and some of the extra mana stuff is you don't need. A lot of the time you don't need lots of the cards in your hand in your deck. So we have Caverns plus the looting effects to just throw away junk. So that's why I'm able to play like main deck Leylines.
Right.
Because if I don't want them, I have ways to just get rid of them and replace them with other things. And then so the Cavern, yeah, we might be throwing a card away, but we're getting the card back because we're on the draw. Right. And then so really, instead of, it's 50-50 on going first normally. Instead, you have a Cavern 40% of the time. 4 of you have it 40% of the time you're opening hand. So we're actually only giving up 10% of our chance to go first in order to always have the 8th card.
Sure.
So I still think Cavern is a good card. Like overall, like I think you want ways to take advantage of it, like this deck. But I think Cavern is a strong card.
So when you're trying just to assemble this mass of 2 or 3 cards, you got to have all the pieces, and getting the extra card matters. Yeah. The Pull from Eternity becoming Entomb tech was something I'd never thought of, but it looks very good.
I was talking about the deck with Noah Cohen back in November or so when the Modern Pro Tour was coming up. I was like, hey, I had this idea, and he's like, whoa, this is cool. And then so we had all this stuff, and then we were talking about it, and I had a lot of the rest of the stuff, including the Gemstone Caverns already. He's like, well, what about Pull? I'm like, that's pretty cool. So
smart kid.
Yeah. So I put the Pull in, and I started. Then I basically didn't touch the deck until last week, and then I was like, all right, I need to get ready for Modern. So I goldfished it like 6 bajillion times, and then played a good, well, not a good number, some matches. We're not beating Twin ever.
Sure.
At least in game 1. Other stuff, I feel like we're okay. Like, this deck is powerful, it's unexpected, and people aren't going to know what to do. Like, for example, my first round opponent, we only played 1 round so far. I played against Burn in the first round. Game 1, he won, although it was sort of close. And then game 2, I look at my opening hand, I have a Serum Powder, I don't have a great hand, I don't have a Leyline.
Sure.
Dump it. New hand has a Leyline, keep, he's wrecked. Game 3, opening hand, Serum Powder, no Leyline, dump it, Leyline, he's wrecked. And you're going pretty hard with the 2 main deck Leylines.
Well,
so there's room for a few. Well, I mean, you could have more like filtering, anticipate stuff.
Right.
But there's room for essentially a few defensive cards main deck. Is it Charm can counter things, which actually happens.
Sure. Kills things too.
It kills things also. I killed an Eidolon in that game, and it can actually counter a counter that actually comes up. But given the choice to like hedge main deck against discard or against counters, because I feel like decks that just creature decks that are attacking or collected company decks with essentially no interaction besides
you're going to be in good shape anyway.
I'm going to be faster. I better be. So if we're going to hedge against discard or counters, I think there are more. And I don't play a ton of Modern, but my impression is there's more discard to worry about than there are counters to worry about. So I went with the Leylines main deck, and then and plus it also is highest against, like, I'd rather have that against Burn than a discard spell, and I played against Burn, and it's nice to have.
All right, so Twin's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
So you've got some Thoughtseizes, you got some Torpor Orbs, you got your extra Leylines, which go in against a bunch of stuff like the junk decks.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything with discard will bring in the Leylines. Anything with counters will bring in Silence. Silence is super good.
Right. Full 4 Silence.
Yeah, I mean, I expected. What I was worried about was the decks with the cheap blue interactive spells, Remand, Spell Snare, Dispel, that kind of thing. I played for a couple hours last night against a guy playing Grixis Delver, and I actually did reasonably well, and particularly after boarding, because the Silence is essentially just, it's so strong.
Right, this isn't Legacy where they get to have a free counter spell to deal with your Silence and then counter your next spell.
And then, especially starting on, I don't know, it depends on how we start, but maybe on turn, especially if I have a Cavern, maybe starting on their second turn, they're already afraid to tap out, which they should be. So like a lot of games, you play turn 1 Delver and then sit there. And if I'm able to, like, is it Charm the Delver? Or if it doesn't flip for a while, he can't play another threat.
You're doing what Twin does to other people and making them play scared, basically.
Yeah, and then the silence is strong. The Thoughtseize is okay. Silence is better. I would play more silences if I could.
Sure.
But Thoughtseize is nice to have against, like, there are other combo decks like Amulet or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Twin is bad. I was actually considering playing. Originally, I was going to play Not of This World because of the interaction with Gristlebrand.
Right.
Like, because the whole problem is Pestermite taps things.
Yeah.
So you could dump in Gristlebrand, and they all like Pestermite to tap it. You're like, okay, in response, I'll draw 14 cards. If I find Not of This World, pitch counter the tap effect, you're done.
Right.
And but Torpor Orb is more universally good.
Sure.
I think. And
I don't know. I like it. You got an extra Pyroclasm and a Back to Nature in here as well.
Yeah.
Very catch-all stuff, dealing with all kinds of little creatures and enchantments.
I was going to run 2 because I know some of the Jund decks are playing Black Leylines in the sideboard. So like, well, maybe I want a couple Back to Natures, but we have 4 Through the Breaches already. We have the Eerie Procession to get through the breach. So that's 5 things already. So the Back to Nature is a 6th thing to essentially get around a Leyline, and that felt like enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, the deck looks sweet. You're 1-0 so far. You don't get to play a lot of Modern, but we're looking to see you play a lot this weekend, hopefully in day 2.
I got to tell you, my expectations for this tournament are quite low. I'm super thrilled I won the first round. I'm not. I junked my standard deck yesterday and picked up a different one.
Standard.
So that I don't expect that to go particularly well either. But there are good matchups for this deck, and it is enormously fun, and it's way different from the stuff I normally play.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks for sitting down with me.
Sure.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Columbus.